I'm 63 years old. Most people think that makes me invisible. 3 weeks before my daughter's wedding, I arrived early at her fiancé's estate. $1 million property. Old money. The kind of place that makes you feel small. I wasn't supposed to hear what came next. Jalen's voice. Atlas won't be a problem. He's old, half-deaf, completely checked out. Celine's voice. And once you're married, the trust fund transfers. That's when we make our move. They thought my age made me invisible. They thought I was weak. They had no idea who they just woke up. My daughter was about to marry a predator, and his mother was the architect. So I smiled, played along, and set a trap they'd never see coming. This isn't a story about stopping a wedding. This is a story about a father who became something he swore he'd never be again. And by the time they realized what I'd done, it was already too late. My name is Atlas Thorne, and this is how I destroyed the people who tried to destroy my daughter. If you want to know what Atlas discovered that changed everything, hit that subscribe button right now, because what happens in this story will shock you. The phone call Atlas makes at 2 a.m. The file his colleague sends him. The 3 other women Jalen destroyed before Kira. This story gets darker, smarter, and more intense with every chapter, and I'm only releasing it to subscribers. Comment below, Team Atlas, if you think he's doing the right thing, or too far if you think he's crossing a line. Turn on notifications so you don't miss Chapter 1, dropping in 48 hours. Smash that like button if you're ready for a revenge story that will keep you up at night. Don't miss it. Subscribe now. I'm 63 years old and I've learned that the world treats you differently at this age. Waiters talk louder. Cashiers become impatient. People assume you don't understand technology or sarcasm or the modern world. Most days, I don't mind. I've earned my gray hair, my reading glasses, the slight limp from a knee that never fully healed after a hiking accident in my 50s. But on that Tuesday afternoon in October, standing in the marble hallway of Jalen Cross's family estate, I learned something crucial. Invisibility can be a weapon, if you know how to use it. I'd driven 3 hours from Portland to Connecticut to discuss wedding logistics. That's what Kira called it. My daughter, my only child, the brilliant architect who'd inherited her mother's artistic soul and, unfortunately, her father's trusting nature. She was marrying Jalen in 3 weeks. A whirlwind romance. They'd met at a gallery opening 8 months ago. He was charming, sophisticated, came from money, the kind of man who wore tailored suits like a second skin and always knew which wine to order. I wanted to like him. God, I tried. But something felt off. The way he looked at Kira, not at her eyes, but past them. The way he touched her lower back in public, possessive rather than affectionate. The way his mother, Celine, watched me during dinners with the cold assessment of an appraiser examining furniture. Still, I'd promised myself I wouldn't be that father. The overprotective one. The one who couldn't let go. My wife, Kira's mother, had died 6 years ago. Lung cancer. In her final weeks, she made me promise to let Kira live her own life, make her own choices, even her own mistakes. I'd kept that promise, until that Tuesday. The housekeeper, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a Jamaican accent, gestured vaguely toward a closed door at the end of the hall. Mr. Cross and Mrs. Cross are finishing up some business. They'll be with you shortly. I nodded, smiled, prepared to wait. Then I heard my name. Atlas won't be a problem. Jalen's voice, smooth as expensive scotch drifting through the crack in the mahogany door. I should have knocked, should have announced myself. Instead, I froze. Are you certain? Celine's voice, crisp. European accent, though I'd never been sure which country. He seemed observant at the last dinner. Jalen laughed, the kind of laugh that makes your skin crawl. Mom, the man is 63, half-deaf, completely checked out. He spent the entire engagement party talking about his model trains. My jaw tightened. I'd mentioned model trains once, a hobby I'd taken up after my wife died, something to keep my hands busy during the endless, silent evenings. "And Kira?" Celine asked. "Kira is—" Jalen paused, searching for words. "Manageable. She thinks I'm fascinated by her vision, her art projects, her non-profit dreams. God, she's exhausting sometimes. But the trust fund, that makes it worth it." My heart stopped. "Once we're married," he continued, "the trust transfers to joint accounts per the prenup her father insisted on. Ironic, really. He thought he was protecting her by making sure I had equal access. Instead, he made our job easier." "How much?" Celine asked. $4 million, plus the condo in Barcelona she inherited from her grandmother. We liquidate the condo, move the funds through the offshore accounts we set up in Grand Cayman, and by month 6 of the marriage, we're set. And if she suspects, she won't. I've spent 8 months love-bombing her, isolating her from anyone who questions us. Her father's a non-issue. He's so desperate for her to be happy after her mother died that he'll believe anything. And her friends? I've slowly convinced her they're jealous, toxic. She barely talks to them anymore." Silence. Then Celine. "You're certain this will work?" "Mom, I've done this twice before. 3rd time's the charm. This one's just wealthier than the others." They laughed. Both of them, laughing about destroying my daughter. I stepped back from the door. My reflection stared at me from a gilded mirror across the hall. Gray hair, lines around my eyes deepening, reading glasses hanging from a chain around my neck. An old man. Harmless. Invisible. I smiled. They had no idea what they'd just awakened. Because 40 years ago, before I became Atlas Thorne the widower, the doting father, the model train enthusiast, I was Atlas Thorne, the financial consultant who dismantled fraudulent corporations for a living. I'd buried that man when my wife died. But standing in that hallway, listening to predators plot against my daughter, he came roaring back. I didn't confront them. That's what everyone expects, right? The angry father bursting through the door, accusations flying, righteous fury on full display. But I'd learned something during my 40 years in corporate forensics. Anger is a liability. Rage makes you sloppy. Patience, though. Patience is surgical. So I walked back to my car, hands steady despite the storm raging inside my chest. I sat in the driver's seat of my 15-year-old Honda. Jalen had once called it charmingly vintage with barely concealed contempt. And I made 3 phone calls. Calls I hadn't made in over a decade. Calls to people who knew the version of me I'd tried to bury. Leif and I had worked together in Boston during the early 2000s. He was a forensic accountant with a gift for finding financial trails that people desperately wanted to stay hidden. Money laundering, embezzlement, fraud. If someone was cooking books, Leif could smell it from 3 states away. He'd retired to a cabin in Vermont, spent his days fly fishing and consulting on the occasional white-collar crime case. He answered on the 3rd ring. "Atlas, that really you?" "Leif, I need a favor." "Haven't heard from you in what, 12 years? Must be serious." "It is. I need you to audit someone. Quietly. Deep background, financial history, legal records, everything." A pause. "Who?" "Jalen Cross, 34 years old, lives in Greenwich, Connecticut. Old money family, or at least that's the story." "What am I looking for?" "Anything that doesn't add up. Anything that suggests he's not who he claims to be." I heard the scratch of pen on paper. Leif was old school, never trusted digital notes for sensitive work. "How fast you need this?" "Yesterday." He chuckled, dark and knowing. "That kind of favor? All right, give me 48 hours. "Leif, this stays between us." "Always does, brother. Always does." Thalia was a lawyer I'd worked with during a massive corporate restructuring in 2008. She'd negotiated billion-dollar mergers, faced down boardrooms full of men who underestimated her, and won every single time. She was semi-retired now, teaching at Yale Law School, but I knew she still took select cases. The complicated ones. The ones that mattered. Atlas Thorne. Her voice was warm, amused. I heard you'd gone full recluse. Model trains and everything. Word travels fast. Small professional world. What do you need? I need to restructure a trust fund. My daughter's, without her knowing. And I need it ironclad, protected from spousal access, even after marriage. Silence. Then, that's complicated, legally and ethically. I know. Why? I told her. Not everything, but enough. Another pause. Longer this time. When's the wedding? 3 weeks. Jesus, Atlas, that's not much time. Can you do it? I'll need to see the original trust documents, and we'll need 2 independent trustees to sign off if you want this bulletproof. People with no connection to your family. Done. Whatever it takes. I heard her keyboard clicking. Send me everything by tomorrow morning. I'll clear my schedule. Thalia, thank you. Don't thank me yet. If we're doing this, we're doing it right, and that means protecting your daughter in ways she might not understand or appreciate. I know. Good, because this could blow up in your face, Atlas. You ready for that? I thought about Jalen's laugh, about the phrase, 3rd time's the charm. I'm ready. This one was the hardest. She answered on video chat, her face bright and happy, surrounded by fabric swatches and invitation samples. Dad, I was just thinking about you. Do you prefer the cream cardstock or the ivory? Jalen says they're identical, but I think the ivory has more warmth. Sweetheart. My voice cracked despite my best efforts. I just wanted to tell you how proud I am of you. She paused, tilting her head. Dad, you okay? I'm fine. Just emotional, I guess. My little girl's getting married. Her smile softened. I'm not so little anymore. You'll always be little to me. We talked for 20 minutes. About flowers, about the ceremony, about her honeymoon plans in Tuscany. She was so happy, so full of hope. I didn't tell her what I'd heard. I didn't tell her what I was planning. Instead, I listened, memorized every detail of her joy, and quietly began building the fortress that would protect her from the wolves at her door. 48 hours later, Leaf called back. Atlas, you sitting down? Talk to me. Jalen Cross isn't just a con artist, he's a professional. And his mother, she's been running this operation for 15 years. He sent me a file, photos, court documents, testimonies, 3 women, 3 broken lives, 3 identical patterns. My daughter was about to become number 4. I stared at the photos of those women, different faces, different ages, but the same haunted look in their eyes. Not Kira. Never Kira. I opened my laptop and began typing. Lists, timelines, strategies. By sunrise, I had a plan. By sunset, I'd set it in motion. Jalen and Celine thought they were hunting my daughter. They had no idea they were already caught in my trap. I'd been so careful. For 2 weeks, I played the role perfectly. The doting father, the slightly scattered old man who got misty-eyed over wedding cake tastings and confused about the difference between garden roses and peonies. Behind the scenes, Thalia restructured Kira's trust into something impenetrable, an irrevocable trust with myself and 2 independent trustees she'd recruited from her network. The money would flow to Kira, but never through joint accounts, never within Jalen's reach. Leaf sent daily updates, bank records, travel patterns. He'd even tracked down 2 of Jalen's previous victims. Their stories were identical. Whirlwind romance, isolation from friends and family, marriage, then systematic financial devastation. I'd hired a private investigator named Wren, a woman in her 40s who could blend into country clubs and charity galas like smoke. She'd planted listening devices in Jalen's car, his office, even the guest house where Celine stayed when visiting. Every conversation was recorded, every lie documented. My plan was elegant. Let the wedding happen, let them think they'd won, then expose them publicly at the reception. Theatrical? Perhaps, but they'd humiliated those other women in private. I wanted their shame to be witnessed. Everything was falling into place. Then, at 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday, my doorbell rang. Kira stood on my porch, mascara streaked down her face, holding a manila folder like it was evidence at a crime scene. My stomach dropped. "Kira, why did you have Jalen investigated?" Her voice was barely a whisper, but it cut deeper than any scream. I'd been so focused on covering my digital tracks, encrypted emails, burner phones, secure servers, that I'd forgotten about the physical ones. Leaf's preliminary report. I'd printed it, left it on my home office desk. Kira had stopped by earlier to drop off wedding favors. She must have seen it. "Sweetheart, let me explain." "Explain?" Her voice cracked like thunder. "You hired detectives to follow my fiancé? You went behind my back like I'm some kind of child who can't make her own decisions. You don't understand what he— I understand exactly what this is." She thrust the folder at me. "This is you being unable to let go. This is you being so terrified of losing me like you lost Mom that you're sabotaging my happiness." Each word was a blade. "Jalen told me you'd do this," she continued, and ice flooded my veins. "He said you'd try to destroy us because you can't stand seeing me with someone who isn't you." He'd prepared her for this. Of course he had. Jalen was good, maybe better than I'd given him credit for. "Kira, please." I reached for her hand. She yanked it away like I'd burned her. "I don't want to see you at the wedding." "Kira, I mean it, Dad. Stay away from me. Stay away from Jalen. Stay away from my life." The door slammed. I stood in my empty living room surrounded by 40 years of memories. Photos of Kira's childhood. Her mother's paintings on the walls. The life we'd built together. They'd turned my daughter against me. And the worst part? She was right to be angry. I'd gone behind her back. I'd treated her like she couldn't make her own choices. Maybe I was just a controlling old man who couldn't accept that his daughter didn't need him anymore. Maybe I was the problem. I called Thalia at 2 a.m. "Shut it down," I said, voice hollow. "All of it." "Atlas, if we stop now—" I said shut it down, cancel the trust restructuring, pull Wren off surveillance, tell Leaf to destroy his files. Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. "You'll lose her trust fund," Thalia said quietly. "You know that, right? Once they marry, once he gets access." "I know." "Atlas. Some things matter more than money, Thalia. I won't lose my daughter over this." I hung up. For the first time in 2 weeks, I slept. Badly. But I slept. Because protecting Kira's bank account wasn't worth destroying our relationship. I'd rather she lose money than lose her father. At 6:23 a.m., my phone buzzed. Voicemail. Timestamp. 3:47 a.m. It was Wren. "Mr. Thorne, I know you said to shut down surveillance, but you need to hear this. Last night, Jalen drove Kira home after she confronted you. I still had the device active in his car. You need to listen to what he said after she got out." My hand trembled as I pressed play. Jalen's voice, muffled but clear. She actually believed it. God, her father's investigation made this easier. Now she'll marry me out of spite. Celine's voice in the background. "You're certain she didn't see the real documents? The offshore accounts?" "Mom, relax. Atlas is too sentimental to show her the hardcore evidence. He'll back down like he always does. These men always do." Laughter, cold, victorious. 2.5 weeks, Jalen said. 2.5 weeks and we're set for life. The old man just handed us a perfect excuse. Now Kira thinks anyone who warns her about me is just like her controlling father. More laughter. The recording ended. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone in my shaking hand, tears streaming down my face. Not tears of sadness. Tears of absolute, crystalline clarity. They'd weaponized my love for my daughter. They'd turned my protective instincts into a tool to isolate her further. And I'd almost fallen for it. I picked up the phone. "Thalia, we're back on. But I'm changing the plan. What do you need? I looked at my reflection in the bedroom mirror. Gray hair, tired eyes, an old man who'd tried to retire from fighting. Everything, I said, and I need it to hurt. I didn't sleep for the next 72 hours. Instead, I built something beautiful, intricate, deadly. A trap so perfectly disguised that Jalen and Celine would walk right into it, smiling the entire way. But here's what I understood at 63 that my younger self never could have. Public humiliation fades. Lawsuits settle. Scandals become forgotten footnotes. I didn't want them embarrassed. I wanted them destroyed. And I wanted Kira to never know I was the architect. I called Jalen 3 days after Kira's confrontation. My voice was broken, apologetic, everything he expected from a defeated old man. Jalen, I owe you an enormous apology. Atlas, his voice was magnanimous, gracious. I understand. Grief does strange things to people. You lost your wife and now you're losing your daughter. It's natural to lash out. God, he was good. I've been talking to my therapist, I lied smoothly. She helped me see that I've been projecting my fear of abandonment onto Kira's relationship. It's not fair to you or to her. I appreciate you saying that. I want to make it right, I said. I've been thinking about Kira's trust fund. I know it transfers to joint accounts after the marriage per the prenup. That was my idea. I thought it showed I trusted you. It did, Jalen said. It does. Well, I'd like to do more. A wedding gift. Something substantial. I paused for effect. $2 million. Clean. No strings. Deposited into a joint account as a gesture of my support for your marriage. Silence. I could practically hear him salivating. Atlas, that's incredibly generous. It's what Kira's mother would have wanted. A fresh start for you both. You'll have the documentation by Monday. I don't know what to say. Say you'll take care of my daughter. Always, he said, smooth as silk. Always. Thalia worked through the weekend. She created a shell company, Meridian Holdings, LLC. Impeccable paperwork. A board of directors, actually actors Wren hired from a theater company in Boston. Even a sleek website with stock photos and corporate jargon. The account was real. The money was real. $2 million, just like I'd promised. But the account had special features that Jalen would never notice in the fine print. 1. A 30-day fraud protection review period that I controlled. 2. Transaction monitoring that forwarded every detail to Leaf 3. Geographic tracking on every debit card transaction. 4. Automatic forensic documentation of fund movements. Every withdrawal would be recorded, every transaction traced, every purchase documented. They'd have access to $2 million for exactly 29 days. I wasn't invited. Kira had made that clear. But I came anyway. I sat in the very last row of the church, wearing my best suit, a hat pulled low over my face. Just another elderly guest that no one noticed. When Kira walked down the aisle, I saw her mother in every step. Same grace, same strength, same trusting heart. My chest tightened. For one agonizing moment, I almost stopped everything. Almost let them have the money if it meant Kira would be happy. Then I saw Jalen's face as she approached the altar. He wasn't looking at her with love. He was looking at her like a man who'd just won the lottery. My resolve hardened. I didn't stay for the reception. Too risky. Instead, I sat in a coffee shop 3 blocks away, laptop open, watching the transactions in real time. At 8:47 p.m., the first withdrawal, $50,000. Notation: business investment opportunity. I texted Leaf. They've started. His response: tracking. They just wired it to an offshore account in Grand Cayman. By midnight, $200,000 gone. By the end of the week, $600,000. Luxury cars titled in Celine's name. A condo in Miami Beach. Consulting fees to shell companies they controlled. Jewelry, art, watches, Every purchase was documented, every transaction mapped. They were spending my money I'd given them, to build evidence of their own intent. It was beautiful. 21 days after the wedding, I called Kira. She answered on the third ring, cold, distant. "What do you want, Dad?" "I need to talk to you about something. Not as your father, as someone who understands financial structures. I don't want to—" "Kira, please, 5 minutes. It's about your joint account with Jalen, the one from my wedding gift." Silence. "What about it? Have you looked at the transaction history?" "No. Jalen handles our finances. He's better at that stuff." My heart broke a little. "Kira, I need you to log in right now, while I'm on the phone with you." "Dad, please." I heard typing. Then silence. Long, terrible silence. There's only $380,000 left. We started with $2 million 3 weeks ago." "Keep looking," I said gently. "Check the transaction history." More silence. Then a sharp intake of breath. "Dad, these withdrawals, these companies, I don't recognize any of them." "Google one, Solstice Consulting LLC." I waited. It's registered to Celine, Jalen's mother." "Keep going." She searched another, and another. With each search, I heard my daughter's world crumbling through the phone. "Why would he—" Her voice broke. "Kira, I need to send you something. Don't open it around Jalen. Wait until you're alone." I sent Leaf's complete file. Every previous victim, every lawsuit, every pattern. 3 minutes passed. Then, sobbing, deep, wrenching sobs. "Kira, you tried to tell me," she whispered. "You tried to warn me and I called you controlling. I told you to stay away from my wedding. You had every right to be angry. How do I fix this?" I closed my eyes. "You don't, sweetheart. I do." They came for me on a Thursday evening. Not with lawyers, those would come later. They came with threats, desperation, and the kind of rage that comes from realizing you've been outmaneuvered. I was ready. I'd been sitting in my living room since 6 p.m., knowing they'd show up once Kira confronted Jalen about the missing money. I'd positioned my phone on the bookshelf, camera facing the door, already recording. The doorbell rang at 7:14 p.m. I let them ring 3 times before answering. Jalen stood on my porch, Celine beside him. Gone was the smooth charm, the polished veneer. His hair was disheveled, his tie loosened. Celine's elegant composure had cracked, revealing something cold and predatory beneath. "You set us up," Jalen hissed, pushing past me into my home. "That account, the fraud protection, you rigged the whole goddamn thing." I closed the door calmly, locked it, then turned to face them. "I gave you $2 million as a wedding gift. What you chose to do with it was entirely your decision. Don't play games with me, old man." "Careful," I said quietly. "You're in my home, uninvited, and you're being recorded." They both froze. I gestured to my phone on the shelf, red recording light visible, then to the security camera in the corner, then to the smart doorbell they'd walked past. "Everything you say here is documented, so choose your next words very carefully." Celine's eyes narrowed. "You had no right." "I had every right. The money was mine to give. The account was legally established with terms you both signed. You had full access. You made your choices." I sat down in my armchair, the same one where I'd read bedtime stories to Kira decades ago. "The only thing I did was document what you chose to do with it." Jalen's face flushed red. "This is entrapment." "No, this is consequences." I opened a folder on the coffee table. 3 previous victims. Rebecca Hathaway, 2019. Lost $600,000 and her family's bakery business. Melissa Torres, 2021. Lost $400,000 and had a nervous breakdown. Amanda Chen, 2023. Lost $800,000 and is still in litigation trying to recover it. I slid the folder toward them. Pattern of behavior. Documented. And now, you've added Kira to that list. Except this time, I have evidence." "What evidence?" Celine spat. "We withdrew money from a joint account that you gifted us. That's not illegal." "No," I agreed. "But defrauding someone in a marriage is, and when combined with your history, it establishes intent, conspiracy, and depending on how aggressive the prosecutor is, possibly RICO charges, considering your little offshore network." The color drained from Jalen's face. I pulled out another folder, thicker, more damning. Leif Anderson. Remember that name? Forensic accountant. He spent 3 weeks tracing every dollar you've ever stolen, every shell company, every offshore account, the condo in Miami, bought with money from Rebecca's settlement, the car, Amanda's trust fund, even your mother's apartment in Paris, financed by Melissa's inheritance. Celine's hand trembled. "You've been running this con for 15 years, I continued, "and I have documented proof of all of it. Every victim, every transaction, every lie." I stood up, walked to my desk, and showed them my laptop screen. A draft email. Recipients: FBI, Financial Crimes Division, Connecticut State Attorney's Office, The New York Times, Boston Globe, 3 major legal blogs, and 27 financial crime watchdog organizations. Subject: The Matrimonial Con, How a Mother-Son Team Systematically Defrauded Wealthy Women. Attached: 847 pages of documentation. My finger hovered over the send button. "1 click," I said. "That's all it takes, and by tomorrow morning your faces are everywhere. Every woman you've destroyed will come forward. Every person you've ever scammed will have ammunition for lawsuits. Your names will be synonymous with fraud." The room was silent except for Celine's ragged breathing. "You're bluffing," Jalen said, but his voice cracked. I looked him dead in the eye. "Try me." Footsteps on the porch. A key in the lock. Kira walked in. She'd been waiting outside, listening through the doorbell camera on her phone. We'd planned this. "Kira." Jalen's voice immediately shifted, becoming soft, pleading. "Baby, your father is manipulating you. He's fabricated evidence." "Stop," she said quietly. "He's sick. He needs help. He's trying to destroy us because he can't stand—" I said, "Stop." Her voice cracked like a whip. I'd never heard my daughter sound like that. So much steel, so much of her mother. "I've spent the last 3 days reading everything. Every lawsuit, every testimony. I found Rebecca Hathaway. She's 34 now. You destroyed her when she was 27. Kira stepped closer to Jalen. "I called her. We talked for 3 hours. She told me everything. How you love-bombed her. How Celine played the grieving widow. How you isolated her from everyone who questioned you." Kira turned to Celine. "She told me you cry on command, that you use your dead husband to manipulate people." "My husband is dead." "Richard Molina," I interjected, "living in Costa Rica under an assumed name. Leif found him in 4 hours. Nice villa in Tamarindo. He seems happy." Celine's face went white as bone. Kira looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "Dad, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't listen. I'm so sorry I blamed you." "You have nothing to apologize for, sweetheart. You loved someone. You trusted. That's not weakness. That's courage." I walked to my daughter and held her as she sobbed. Over her shoulder, I stared at Jalen and Celine. "You have 2 options. Option 1. I press send. FBI investigation. Media circus. Criminal charges. Civil lawsuits from every woman you've destroyed. You'll spend the next decade in courtrooms and possibly prison." I paused. Option 2. You divorce Kira. Tomorrow. No contest. You return every penny you took from the account, all $1.62 million. You sign an NDA. You change your names. You leave Connecticut. And you never, ever contact my daughter again. "And if we refuse," Celine hissed, I smiled. Cold. Final. Then I destroy you so completely that you'll wish you'd chosen prison. 48 hours later, the divorce papers were signed. Every penny was returned. Jalen and Celine moved to Arizona, changed their names, disappeared. The NDA held, but Leaf made certain calls, quiet ones, to prosecutors, to fraud prevention networks, to people who track financial predators. They'd never work this con again. 1 year later, people ask me if I'm proud of what I did. It's complicated. Am I proud I manipulated people? That I set elaborate traps? That I played puppet master with my daughter's life? No. But am I proud I protected someone I love from predators who would have destroyed her? Yes, without hesitation. Kira started a nonprofit 6 months after the divorce. It's called Second Sight, helping people recover from financial fraud and romantic scams. She works with victims, navigates legal systems, connects them with forensic accountants and therapists. Rebecca Hathaway is her co-director now. Melissa and Amanda volunteer on weekends. Turns out getting scammed gave Kira a purpose she never knew she needed. We have dinner every Sunday. Sometimes she brings her new partner, a kind, gentle architect named Maya who makes Kira laugh in ways I haven't heard since before her mother died. I don't investigate Maya. I don't hover. I trust Kira's judgment. Because I learned something through all of this. Protecting someone isn't the same as trusting them. My daughter is stronger than I ever gave her credit for last month. A letter arrived. No return address. Postmarked from Phoenix, Arizona. Inside, one sentence in elegant script I recognized as Celine's. You won this round. Enjoy it while it lasts. I showed Kira. Should we be worried? She asked. I thought about it. Really thought. Then I smiled. Let them try. Because here's what Celine doesn't understand. I'm not the man I was a year ago. I'm not the grief-stricken widower, not the overprotective father, not the retired consultant who thought his fighting days were done. I'm someone who discovered that love means being willing to become whoever you need to be to keep your family safe. And if they come back, we'll be ready. I'm 64 now. My hair is grayer. My joints hurt more. I fall asleep during movies. But when I look at Kira, brilliant, fierce, healed, helping others heal, I see her mother's legacy. I see resilience. I see purpose. 3 months ago, she came to Sunday dinner with news. Dad, I've been thinking about Mom a lot lately, about what she'd say if she could see us now. What do you think she'd say? Kira smiled, tears in her eyes. I think she'd say you kept your promise. You let me make my own choices, even my own mistakes, but you never let me face them alone. My throat tightened. And I think, Kira continued, she'd be proud of both of us, for fighting back, for protecting each other, for not letting predators win. She reached across the table and took my hand. Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I pushed you away. Never, I said. Not ever. 2 weeks ago, Jalen tried to contact Kira through a fake Facebook profile. She forwarded it to me with one word. Handled. She'd blocked him, reported him to the platform, and sent his profile information to Leaf, who alerted the Fraud Prevention Network. My daughter didn't need me to fight her battles anymore. She'd learned to fight them herself. And that, more than the revenge, more than the money recovered, more than destroying Jalen and Celine, that's when I knew we'd truly won. For every daughter who deserves protection, for every father who learns that love isn't about control, it's about showing up. For everyone who's been scammed, manipulated, or told their instincts were wrong, you're not alone. And you're stronger than they think. You just witnessed Atlas's complete story, from the moment he overheard that conversation to the day he watched his daughter reclaim her power. But this isn't just entertainment. This is a warning. Financial predators are real. They're sophisticated. They target kind, trusting people, and they rely on shame and silence to keep winning. If this story moved you, Subscribe. I have more stories like this. Real people, real revenge, real justice. Every week, a new story that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Like this video. Every like helps this story reach someone who needs to see it. Someone being manipulated. Someone protecting their family. Someone who feels invisible. Comment below. Tell me, have you ever had to protect someone you love from a predator? Would you have handled this differently? What would you do in Atlas's position? I read every comment. The best ones get featured in future videos. Turn on notifications. Next week's story will shock you. My sister faked cancer to steal my inheritance, so I gave her exactly what she deserved. A family betrayal, hidden medical records, and a Thanksgiving dinner that exposes everything. Dropping next Friday. Subscribers only. Share this story. If you know someone dealing with a toxic relationship, financial manipulation, or family betrayal, send them this video. Sometimes people need to see their situation from the outside to understand what's really happening. If you're reading this and you've been scammed or manipulated, know this: it's not your fault. Love makes us vulnerable. That's not weakness, that's courage. But protecting yourself, that's wisdom. And sometimes fighting back requires becoming someone you never thought you'd have to be. I became that person, and I'd do it again. This is more than a story. This is a movement. Justice, truth, protection, revenge when necessary, redemption when possible. Welcome to the family. Let's tell stories that matter. Your storyteller, subscribe now. The next story is even better.